We just got back from our Texas Roundup event down in Wimberley, Texas at the Old Glory Ranch. This is a private venue where some big names have come to film, including Hummer Vehicles, where they once used this course to test drive some of their new product. We had a chance to bring out some customers, potential new dealers, and current dealers to test drive the all-new 2021 Landmaster lineup of UTVs. Their riding experience consisted of driving over 2,200 acres of trails that were up steep hills, sharp turns, and rocky terrain. After their test drives, I pulled a couple visitors aside to get their feedback on the new American Landmaster UTVs.
And what dealership are you with?
I'm with Sports Motor Dallas. My name is Brian Gowdy.
So you just test drove a couple of the new 2021 Landmasters. Why don't you just tell us your overall experience, what you liked about it? And
the performance is great. It's definitely a big improvement from the 2020 model. Steering is really nice and tight. It holds real well to the trails. The acceleration on the L7 and the L5 is really good. You can really feel it. And it's just overall a really good product. Really impressed with it.
As I said, a lot of the off-road units that have the power steering on it, some people like it to where you can feel the road a lot more, like the Can-Am has a great dynamic power steering, don't get me wrong. The Polaris power steering I wasn't a huge fan of. Yamaha power steering, and this one I feel like I can feel the road a lot, especially going through a lot of the loose gravel and loose dirt that we were going through. I felt like I had a lot more control over it than a lot of the other mainstream side-by-sides that we would go through. The L-Raw suspension, I'd say, was very comparable to what the Polaris 570 and Can-Am 500s are. So all in all, bang for the buck. I think it's a really good product personally. Bang for the buck for sure.
Awesome. The suspension was great, handled around the curves. We hit some pretty good bumps out there and rocks, and it took it well. You didn't feel them, and the power steering is really good on it.
awesome.
Overall, it's comparable to any other UTV that I've ridden before. The ride quality was great. We put it through its paces, and we were beating and banging on rocks and came back, and it's a little bit dusty, but I don't see any dents anywhere. It's been good so far.
So we made a lot of improvements too to the overall design on the inside. So tell me about that. Do you like the kind of the look and feel that we have going on with the dash? And
Absolutely. I like the aluminum dash, everything over here. I like how the shifters are. I like the diff lock. All the other switches are perfectly placed. Comfortable seats. Y'all made a great improvement on that. The crew as well, and from what I can tell, man, there's no difference in going from that to that except for the extra seating as far as how to handle on the trail. I was thinking it was going to high center, and we never did. We went through some pretty scary stuff, and it just went right over it, no problem. Ride quality was great. I rode in the back seat as well, and didn't have any problems. So.
Awesome. Okay, so we also made a lot of improvements to the components that we put into the front end and the rear end of the vehicle. And you said you kind of had a interesting story about your thought process and the performance there. So why don't you share that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Like with anything that I demonstrate or try out, I'm going to try and break it. And I tried to break it. I mean, we hit stuff. We were tearing it. We were cornering.
It's a pretty aggressive trail too.
Absolutely. There's, from what I've done so far, and like I said, I can break anything, but I haven't been able to break one of these yet. Granted, I said yet, so there's still hope. I'm not putting any hidden deals out there. I'm probably gonna buy one here pretty soon for my personal use, just so I can try and break it. But from what I've seen, all the components y'all have used so far, they're all upgraded parts. Everything's nice. Everything's tight. Even when we were taking the sharp turns, everything was there. We never felt uncomfortable like we were going to roll or anything.
Okay.
We were hitting this trail as hard as we could to see if we could break stuff. And, we were sitting there looking at it, and we thought for a minute. We said, you know what? We're hitting it fast, but what's it do from a dead stop? So we actually got to try that out. We went from a dead stop, did a pretty significant incline, and it climbed right up, gained power. We never felt any power loss at all. And then we reversed it and tried it backwards. So as far as how that went, man, it was awesome. Never felt it when we shifted in full drive. It was great.
We also flew out Brendan Baker from MPN Magazine to come test drive our new product. Let's see what he has to say about his overall experience.
My name is Brendan Baker. I am the editor-at-large for Motorcycle and Power Sports News. I've been with MPN since 2009. I've ridden a lot of different vehicles, and this is my first time getting to drive the Landmaster, the L7, and I have to say I'm impressed. I think for the price point and what you get and the quality of the components are, it's right up there. And I think that there's going to be the consumer that is looking to do a lot of utility and mixed with maybe some hunting and sportsman type activity. It's a perfect vehicle, it really is. And you've got a lot of accessory options there that I think are going to be very useful. And again, like you say, for the price point, you really can't beat that, and they're made in America.
So when you drove the Crew, the L7X, what was your experience with its suspension? I mean, it's got the same engine as the L7. It's got a little bit different suspension setting in the back. So what was your experience there?
Actually, what I like about the Crew, especially when you're not driving with a lot of people, it's more fun to flick because it's such a bigger, it's got a longer wheelbase, so you really feel that coming out, you know, and so it's funner, a little more fun to throw around. Actually, the suspension set's pretty nice in it because it's a little heavier. You don't bounce around quite as much. It's got plenty of power for, you know, it's probably a little bit heavier, obviously being a Crew, but
and we did the whole course pretty much in 2-wheel drive. So
yeah, and this course is, I mean, there's some hairy parts here, and I don't think we needed 4-wheel drive here at all. And I think it would handle in some steep inclines in 4-wheel drive with no problem. There's enough torque. I was surprised at the torque level.
Later that day, Brendan Baker and Jeff Bannister, the president at American Landmaster, talked about what the new Landmaster product brings to the market and where American Landmaster is heading in the near future.
I feel like it rides like a good UTV, you know, it has a nice ride.
At this price point, American made, American built, the suspension system kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah.
You saw it out there in the hills,
Oh, yeah.
the valleys.
Yep.
Pretty responsive
It soaks
suspension.
up the bumps pretty well.
The nice thing too is that the Crew became kind of the phenomenon from the original prototypes. We didn't think the Crew was going to be the fast unit.
Yeah.
But then based on its performance, how it's performed out here, the Crew has really
I have to say, I think the suspension set of the Crew, like, it has a nice ride to it. It really seems to float over the bumps a little bit more.
We built the product line around the L7. That's why we wanted to go fast.
Yeah,
we want to have the sports suspension. So the Crew is kind of an add-on to our base 2-seat unit. When we built our first prototype, everybody that drove all of our prototypes kept gravitating to the Crew. And I was like, why do you guys like the Crew so much? It was the ride, it was the wheelbase, it was the handling. It appears the suspension is perfectly tuned for the Crew.
Yeah.
So our dealers that we've met in the last 2 days, new ones and existing ones, overwhelmingly said, I want Crews.
The Crew.
Just a second. Dave, why does this band not have our hat on right now? And let me present to you a Landmaster hat.
And I like the new logo too, by the way. That is pretty sharp.
Designed by the man,
you know,
David Kersey.
I'm actually a fan of the trucker style caps, so I'll give you kudos for that.
All right.
Okay. All right, now we can continue.
All right, we can continue. So we're super excited. We got a brand new lineup. We're essentially re-engineering our company from inside out. You're seeing here is the investment we've made in our product. We're starting to ship to our dealers this week.
Okay.
And you're looking at here is our first production units coming off the line last week.
Right on. So, and dealers, and they've had
super response to the suspension, the electrical, the ride handling.
Yeah, the
quality.
electrical is very nice too. I mean, all the detail. I think again, going back to the price point, but you don't always find all the detail that you have in something like this for that kind of price either. Who do you say is your market, more the utility guy or kind of the utility guy that's also a sportsman type user?
We've never really had what I consider to be a sport, a trail riding product. It was fairly simple.
Yeah.
What we've worked on of these releasing these changes is really, we've always done the work and now we're going to do the fun sport.
Right.
And what we saw here in the last 2 days in these trails and hills in San Antonio or Wimberley, is that these machines are fun, they're exciting, they're easy to drive, and the suspension's phenomenal going up the switchbacks, up and down all the boulders and trails. So for us, we're entering into that fun side of the marketplace. We're still doing it the way Landmaster does it, specific to us.
Right.
But we're just excited about where the future takes the company, and You know, we've always covered the utility side of it, but now we've got the sports side of it as well.
Right, which I think, you know, that's a good combination, because really utility is the big chunk of the market. That is the biggest part of the market. But, you know, you're seeing more and more people that want to have something that does both kind of things. And they don't, you know, whether you need, you know, the full on, you know, turbocharged whatever, that's not utility, you know.
You're going to find that American Landmaster will always be on the utility side. There'll always be beds in our lineup, but now with the new sports suspension, with the new redesigns of the entire system, entire vehicle, we're going to hit a lot more opportunities. We also have an all-electric coming out in March. It'll be on the L7.
About that one.
It's the Y-Track L7 platform, all lithium, AC motor controller and controller. And we also have LSV, low-speed vehicle, coming out in January. So it'll be a registered vehicle that you can register with DMV and get your license plate. And we also
can ride it on the street like people do with their golf carts.
Correct. So it'll actually have a VIN, a VIN designation, versus these are all considered off-road vehicles. And then lastly, we also have the Pro Series, which is that long bed adaptive cruise that we talked about.
Oh, okay.
We knock out the back seat, and we take this 4 foot by 40-inch steel bed, and we expand it all the way up to the B pillar.
That B pillar there. Yeah.
So a lot of things exciting, and for us, and here in Texas, we're reintroducing ourselves. We were in here years ago, we sort of lost our way, and now today, this is really the excitement, is that we've got new dealers coming on board in this event, and we're going to reposition ourselves in one of the biggest, largest UTV markets in the country.
Yeah, I was going to say Texas is definitely the place for your product. I mean, all the ranches here, and you know, people that use them for both kind of things, I think is good.
But at our price point, we're not going to be priced at Polaris, Can-Am, Honda, Kawasaki, Yamaha. We're going to be priced at a point where you got to make a decision. Do you want an American-made designed product, or do you want a Chinese-built product? And what we're trying to do is offer up a comparison to say, look, this is a superior product in a lot of ways, and by the way, keeps jobs in America and it keeps us going. So
plus you've got a lot of parts availability.
Everything is
You're
US
not
based.
having to wait on back orders coming across the ocean in an ocean liner or something like that. So I think that adds a lot of, you know, confidence to dealers, knowing like, hey, you guys are here. You know, the biggest thing with people, that, you know, when you're at this level, you got to have someone that stands behind it, has the product, and builds it well. If you have those things.
Here's the crew. So the crew is, all the big guys have the crews, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at a $5,000 to $10,000 difference between the global crews that are built there versus ours. So the question is, as you take this crew on that trail, are you going to have any different experience whether you spend 5 or 10 grand more? I don't think so. No. So what we're trying to do is say, look, drive it, experience the suspension, the performance, and by the way, why don't you go save $5,000 or $10,000? So that's kind of our value proposition, to say, look, we're going to give you performance, reliability, durability, but we're going to do it in a way that's not going to bankrupt you and put you at a poorhouse.
Right.
I mean, these units are base priced at $12,000. You can't get a crew for 12 grand.
No, I mean,
from the big guys.
No. And even some of the other ones, I mean, I usually see them around 15 or 16 is cheap, you know.
The one thing we have over the big guys, we don't have bureaucracy. We don't have boards.
Yeah.
What we have is business people, engineers, salespeople that are adapting and at a speed that the industry hasn't seen. We're super excited about where this is going to take us, and we've got the team to take it to the next level.
So would you say this is kind of like your re-entry into the power sports market?
Hello power sport. We're back. We're here. And you
here.
know what? Drive it. Compare us. And I think you're going to find the performance versus value equation is going to work out in our favor.
Got good torque, and you know, like I said, you can go fast enough on these trails and have fun and still get it sideways and still.
I don't think you were at 35 miles an hour on a lot of those trails anyway.
Yeah. Oh no, you're probably not. You know, and even if no matter what you had out there, you're not going to go that fast. So.
Well, super. I appreciate you coming down and talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Well, there you have it. Some incredible feedback on the 2021 Landmaster UTVs. Go test drive one today at your local dealership, or if you're interested in becoming a dealer, apply online at AmericanLandmaster.com.